Despite Manda's promise in that last sentence, Manda was found dead about 15 hours after she wrote that note. She came home that night about 6 o'clock. My gut had been in a knot all day long worrying about her. And she walked through the door. I was so glad to see that she was apparently okay. I went over, I gave her a hug, and I fixed her dinner. During dinner, a girl appears at the front door and says that her name is Beth, a friend of Manda's, and I watched her talk to Manda at the dinner table there as I sat across the room, and after a while the girl leaves. I found out later this was not Beth. This was Paula, one of Daniel's sisters. You know, addiction is chaos, and this little part of the story, I think, is probably the most chaotic of all. She called me after Manda died. She said, I came over and pretended to be Beth because I drove Manda over to see Daniel that day. Daniel was still back here in Hammond someplace. And while she was with Daniel, she took all the drugs he had in his backpack and had brought them home, where you guys live. Daniel finds that his stash is gone, and he sends his sister to pretend to be somebody else to our house to get his drugs back. Manda denied that she had any such thing, and she left. You see how nuts this is? So after she left, Manda and I went down to Walgreens. We ran there to get an errand. Manda needed contact lens solutions, stuff like that. We get back home. She says, Dad, I'm tired. I'm cold. I want to go ahead and get a hot bath and go to bed early tonight. This was the night Manda's mom was coming home. The last time they were together, they fought. So I know Manda was worried about it, and I tried to reassure her that everything would be okay, but she wasn't buying it. So we get back home from the errands at Walgreens. Manda says, I'm going to go up take my bath now. And I said, fine, I'm going to watch a little more TV. Let Roxy out one last time, lock up the house, and I'll be upstairs. And she turned and she went to go up the stairs, and that was the last time we would see her alive. Finally, I finished up my chores. I headed up the stairs, and Manda's in the bathroom. She's got the radio on. She loves her tunes, and she loves them loud. And the radio was turned up near max volume, and I thought about asking her to turn this down, but I decided to let her enjoy the music a little while longer, and I went into my room, got myself dressed for bed, went to the bathroom, knocked on the door hard enough, and called her name loud enough for her to hear me over the music, and there was no response. I knocked harder, called louder. Still, nothing. I pounded on the door and I screamed her name. And there was still only the music I could hear. I got that feeling you get in your gut sometimes when you know something is wrong, but you're not quite sure what it is yet. And I opened the door, and the bathtub was to the left. Manda filled it quite full with water. I found her unconscious and submerged in the water, on her back, knees bent. Water up near her hairline. Her left arm was bloody here where she just injected herself, and the needle and syringe she'd used was floating on the left to her side. Drugs that she had cooked up on the countertop were still out there. And it was obvious what it had done, and I had one single thought: save her. With great difficulty, I scooped her up under her arms, and I pulled her out of the tub and put her on the floor. Manda was on the slim side. She'd even lost more weight from being on the drugs, but she felt so heavy. I started CPR right away, and stupidly I thought, this is going to be just like a couple patients that passed out on me and stopped breathing in my office, and I gave them CPR, and they were fine. But then I looked down at Manda's fingernail beds, and they were blue from lack of oxygen, and that scared me. I knew she needed more help than I could possibly ever give her myself. The only phone to call 911 is downstairs. I scooped Manda up under her arms again, drug her down the stairs, through the dining room, into the family room, and I called 911. I'm going to play that call for you now. Why? Because the beast is in this boombox here. You cannot see it, smell it, taste it, or touch it. But by listening to this call, you can sense the strength, power, and endurance of the beast to give that last lethal bite to my daughter, Manda. And you can safely sense how dangerous it is here in this auditorium. And I want you to be able to understand that.
Notification of emergency.
We're calling for 3104 Churchview Drive in Mount Rainbow. My daughter's no fault. It's a drug overdose.
Okay.
Make sure we get back.
Okay, so tell me.
Yes. I'm going to CPR and talk.
Okay. So she's not breathing, no pulse?
No breathing, no pulse.
Okay, give up.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes. Come on, baby. Come on.
how old is she?
20. Keep going. She's aspirated Manda too.
Okay.
Come on.
Is there a doctor?
A doctor.
Okay, so we go.
Come on.
Taking 2 level fire from the ambulance request. 3104 Churchview Drive. Female, drug overdose. Not breathing, no pulse. Taking 2 level fire from the ambulance request. 3104 Churchview Drive. Female, drug overdose. Not breathing, no pulse. Carry 3115.
The door and lock it. And leave the light on the front desk right here.
Okay.
All right, so don't open it. Hold on.
Okay.
I tried to save Manda. I could not. Manda was taken to the emergency room again, and for 5.5 hours, resuscitative efforts were made to try to save her. Every hour, Manda looked less and less like my sweet girl. In the meantime, Manda's mom comes home from vacation. She arrives, the house is unlocked, the lights are on, only Roxy is in the house. Valpo PD advised her that Manda's been taken to the hospital. Right away she thinks, oh, Manda's got more withdrawal symptoms. And when I found out that she was on her way to the hospital, with that understanding, I warned the staff to be ready for the most strong emotional reaction that they had ever seen. And when she got there and found Manda unconscious, a breathing tube down her throat, intravenous lines in both arms, a chest tube out of her side, me taking my turn bagging extra oxygen into her breathing tube, it was a time of insanity for Manda's mom. So, after a while, I looked across the table where Manda lay. Dr. Missouri, a lung specialist, was in charge of her case, and I said, Dr. Missouri, if this were your daughter, what would you do? He said, if this were my daughter, I don't know what I would do, but I think we should stop. So family from the immediate area was called. They came, we said their goodbyes, and we stopped. So what do I want? Ever since Manda died, and I come and I talk to groups just like you, and I look out at all of your sweet faces, I have had this overwhelming urge to want to protect each and every one of you. But I can't. It's something you have to do for yourself, just like the girl in the letter did. I want all of you to live long, rewarding, productive lives, filled with as much joy and happiness that you possibly can have. I don't think that's too much to ask for you, and it continues to be my wish for all of you. So, I thank you for your kind attention, and I wish you the best, and I hope all of you to be safe. Thank you.